Final Fantasy 1 is the kind of game that lets enemies cut in line, kill your party, and then acts like you should have known better. Hello, I'm Tryhard Xavier, and I'm playing every Final Fantasy game for the first time in order from 1 through 16. I'm beating them and I'm reviewing them. Today, I'm starting with Final Fantasy 1. And honestly, I see a lot of DNA here that influenced not just later Final Fantasy games, but RPGs as a whole. I can even feel some early Legend of Zelda energy in its design. Let's start with the story. And let's be real here, there barely is a story. The villain takes the 4 elemental crystals, scatters them, and drains their power. You and 3 other warriors of light travel the world to restore them and eventually fight the final boss. That's it. It's extremely bare bones, but given the era, I wasn't shocked. What did surprise me was how much mechanical depth exists underneath such a simple narrative. Gameplay and systems. For a game that came out in the late 1980s, the systems are more involved than I expected. There are weapons with special effects, different armor types, multiple tiers of magic, distinct class roles, and a full job system with class upgrades. My party was Fighter, Monk, White Mage, and Black Mage. This setup worked well for most of the game. Early on, I learned quickly that speed matters a lot, but here's one of my biggest issues. You cannot directly level speed, which leads to some extremely frustrating moments later. Turn-based, and each character has a clear role. White Mage equals healing only, no meaningful buffs early. Black Mage equals magic damage and later buffs. Fighter is your tank, he does consistent physical damage. Your Monk is weird early, and later on he is broken. The Monk was especially interesting. Early game, super squishy, but once I accidentally sold his weapon around level 12 to 15, I realized he actually did more damage barehanded. From that point on, I never gave him another weapon, and he became a monster. That said, early game survivability was rough. My Monk and Black Mage were constantly getting destroyed. Speed in turn order. This is my biggest complaint. Enemies, even ones much lower level than me, could cut in front of my actions. The worst example was when I was reviving a character. Revived characters come back with 1 HP. I'd queue a revive, then I'd queue a heal. An enemy would act between those turns, the revived character would immediately die again. This happened constantly. Unless the enemy wasted a turn buffing itself, reviving mid-fight felt pointless. I never once successfully revived and healed someone safely unless I got lucky. Even after the class upgrade and stat boost, this problem never fully went away. Magic uses a charge-based system, not MP. There are 9 tiers of magic. Each tier has a limited number of charges. Spells share charges within their tier. Stronger spells have fewer uses. For example, early tier spells become completely useless mid to late game, forcing you to rely on higher tier magic, but those only have 5 to 8 uses before you need to rest or use items. Because my Fighter and Monk were so strong, my Black Mage often felt unnecessary outside of AoE or buffs. Also, mages felt painfully slow in turn order, which made them even harder to rely on. The world design and exploration. The world is a classic 2D overworld with random encounters. Biomes are mostly forests, mountains, oceans, and deserts. Progression opens up slowly, first on foot, then a ship, then a canoe, then an airship. Once you get the airship, the world finally opens up. But there's no fast travel, which can feel rough by modern standards. Early on, a dancing NPC gives hints about where to go next. Halfway through the game, she basically says, figure it out yourself. At that point, I was genuinely lost. I'd clear a dungeon, get an item, and have no idea that I needed a different item somewhere else to progress. I honestly don't know how people figured this out back in the day without guides, but I guess that's part of why these games lasted so long. Class upgrade. Near the end of the game, you can upgrade your job classes after meeting a dragon. This is a straight up upgrade. Better stats, new abilities, and visual changes. Everyone looks older and more powerful, which I actually loved. Unfortunately, even after this, the speed issue persisted. Final boss. I finished the game at level 61, which is apparently over leveled. It still took me about 5 attempts. The fight forced me to completely change my playstyle. My white mage no longer helped attack, she stuck to heals only. My black mage no longer attacked, he could only buff. I literally turned them off, they could not attack anymore. Once I locked into that mindset, I finally won. Mainly because I just used them to increase my amount of hits, to increase my attack, to increase my defense, to turn us invisible so the enemy misses more, which helped. Final thoughts and score. Despite the grinding, the lack of direction, and the frustrating combat inconsistencies, I genuinely enjoyed Final Fantasy 1. I wouldn't replay it, not because it's bad, but because I know the series is about to evolve dramatically. But as a foundation, this game absolutely earns its place in history. I'm going to give Final Fantasy 1 a 6 out of 10. Fun combat when it behaves, great music, nice sprite work, strong systems for its time, extremely bare bones by modern standards. If I had played this game in the 80s or in the 90s, this would have been a 10 out of 10 easily. But with decades of RPG evolution behind us, a 6 out of 10 feels fair and respectable, and I'm excited to see what's coming next. Thank you guys for watching today. Like and subscribe, and get ready for the next Final Fantasy.